Jameel made it. 2100 ChessCom. It's a huge achievement. That puts him at 99.8 percentile of all ChessCom players. If I'm doing my math right, that would mean for every 500 players, he's the top dog. And whenever I try to put this in perspective, I think of just people I see at the gym, and even 1 out of 100 at the gym is completely jacked, but 1 out of 500, that's somebody who's like benching 315 and running close to a 4-minute mile. I mean, that person is just jacked, right? So a huge achievement. And I just want to, I love, of course, the achievement, but what's also interesting to me is I know that there are many adult improvers out there who are on a similar journey. And what I really want to stress is this last year and a half was a very difficult trial for both Jameel and me as a coach. So we definitely had our problems. And I want to describe those problems because I know that once you get to this stage of things, it's not going to be easy. There's going to be setbacks and there's going to be challenges. And we definitely had those aplenty. So let me first start off just with the graph. So here's our graph. And I started training Jameel at around 1,000 ChessCom. This was before we had the ChessDojo training program. This was in the depths of COVID. I think this was like right before right after the presidential election, the 2000. Amazing, amazing. And then our last video where he made 2,000 was April 19th, 2023. And there you can see that upper bar is the 2,000 mark. And you can see that it took us a bit. The graph, goes from going pretty steadily up to just mellowing out. And that's what we should expect at all levels of improvement, right? It will slow down. It's getting more and more competitive, right? Now, you're going from 99.8 to 99.9. That's 1 in a 500 to 1 in 1,000. I mean, it's a different story, right? Okay. So before I say what I think went right in our training, I want to focus on some of the troubles Jameel had and myself had as a coach. So definitely, I think a key problem is with a lot of intelligent people, they're kind of lazy. So Jameel was definitely lazy. It was very hard for me, basically almost impossible to get him to study outside of the lesson. By the way, I want to just describe Jameel a little bit. A lot of times people are writing in the comments, assuming he's a kid. No, Jameel's like in his mid-20s, living in London. And I'll describe a little bit more of his playing situation, but that's who the guy is. Okay, very difficult for me to get him to study outside the lesson. As I did in my 20s, kind of experimenting with alcohol. It doesn't hurt you too much. You can get up the next day and you feel fine. Doesn't help your chest, doesn't help your fitness. Then I would say the big challenge was getting Jameel to play over the board. Huge challenge. And I think one of the reasons I wanted to really describe this is I know many other players who began really going for it during the pandemic, when Jameel did, is they got used to online play. There's a kind of comfort there. You can just sit down. You have your creature comforts or whatever you want around you, and you can play whenever you want, right? And usually you're playing kind of a quicker game. And in Jameel's case, dude has just been obsessed with 30-minute games. Now, it's funny, I talked to Jameel today, and he's like, what do you mean? You got me to play 9 over-the-board games. So, he got to play, when you're in Europe, you can play these league games, fantastic, and that's what he's doing there in London. So, yes, it was a start, but it wasn't much. Right? It wasn't much. And definitely, if he wants to improve, it's going to need to be something more like 40 games a year instead of 9 games in about a year and a half, right? Okay. Further, I really needed him to play people in the dojo because people in the dojo aren't cheating. They're also going to play longer games. But no, he was so into the creature comfort of like, okay, I'm just going to sit down and I'm going to play. You know, I'm going to sit down and do my little 30-minute game. That's what I've kind of dialed in, and that's what I'm good at or something, you know. So that was like this whole thing has been going on. This has been going on for years, well before he got to 2000. My struggle with him to get out of this comfort zone he's in. Yeah, huge problem. Now, let me first address the problem of the cheaters, because this has been a toxic thing that's been going on forever. All right, so this is the famous Nathan Roach from France, who just got banned. And first of all, it's the official crossing of the line came not in the game I'm going to show you, but actually after that game where this guy got banned and then he got Jameel got some of his points refunded. Now, something I want to just show you in this image that seems so telling to me is it's not simply that Nathan himself has gotten his account closed, but look at his opponents. I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, just in the last 6 games, who are also closed. So he is playing 50% cheaters himself. And so the problem with one of the many problems, there are many, of Jameel playing these nasty 30-minute games online trying to improve his skill is that every time someone plays a good move, he's instantly suspicious. And because you have so many cheaters out there, that you're going to be suspicious. You have every right to be paranoid, right? Every right to be paranoid. So does that lead to a healthy atmosphere where you're thinking about your chess? No, you become obsessed with these fools. And I'm like, please, we cannot be thinking, because he wants to talk about it all the time. He was, oh, boss, they're cheating me. They're killing me. And I'm like, well, you're the one who's playing them. You're the one who has to stop playing them, Jameel. I don't know. He hears me and then he doesn't hear me. Okay. So it's been a real struggle. So now let's take a look at his game that he played super well here. And here we have on the left our beautiful time graph. It ended fairly quickly, so I'm not yelling at him for playing too fast. You can see, though, that up until move 8, he was playing fairly quickly. Now, one of the things that has gone well for Jameel is he hasn't really learned his openings in a way that I would consider traditional. Like he hasn't gone deep on memorizing some chessable courses, hasn't been hitting the computer all the time. But we have gone over every game the guy has played. And since he's been playing these openings, basically he hasn't switched hardly anything. He's gotten good at a lot of these openings. And I think this game is an example of that. So let's play a couple moves of this, and then I will talk through some of the other things that I feel he's doing well. So he's been doing this Smith-Morra forever, fine. And this is a fun line. This is, in fact, what I did as black ages ago in the last millennium. And then somebody prepared against me. It was in the Isle of Rugen, 1996 or something like that. And then, I stopped doing it. I think it was I don't know if it was a draw or anything, but I was in big trouble. And that game went also with Queen E2 and Knight D5. Now, I want to stress, it turns out, this is maybe not the most accurate, but I was very impressed that Jameel found this move. This was actually the same move that those chumps in the Isle of Rugen played against me ages ago. Okay. The point is, the whole point of the trap, first of all, is you're threatening Knight D4. Now, it's funny, the computers really change everything, and I won a gazillion blitz games after this and this. And amazingly, the computer now is just like, you know what, we'll just go here. And then you can go take, and we'll play this. So this is the computer's solution. This is actually the line that it gave. And it was like, oh yeah, white's better here. I don't even know if white's better there, but that was the weird computer thing the computer came up with to refute the famous Siberian gambit. In any case, even if that's the objectively best thing, he played knight d5, and I was very happy. We had seen moves like this in a variety of different variations, right? So it's like the theme, the idea is, you know, for most players, many players wouldn't even cross your mind. Okay, so I thought maybe queen b8, and we looked at it afterwards. We didn't find a way to refute queen b8. In any case, here we had takes, knight e7. And I don't know what the best move is here. To me, it's a choice between rook e1 and d6. Okay, so now I want to talk a little bit about what we did in this time, because I feel like this decision, both are good moves. He plays this move, d6. And, well, let's talk about it a little bit. You're opening the bishop, but you are also stopping this bishop from ever getting out by playing a d5. So it's a very ambitious move. And one of the things we did right at the beginning of his journey was we read Art of Attack by Vukovic in the ChessDojo program. We went through that pretty diligently, and I would say this is an Art of Attack move. You're not able to calculate everything out. No way, right? Maybe also helpful in this regard is we also read, also in the Dojo training program, Reassess Your Chess by Silman. And this move, d6, we can think of it as tactical, but there's a lot of positional elements to the story of the position. And to me, the story is, most important thing is we have to prevent black from getting out, right? Black's pieces are all completely tied down, and we must prevent them getting out. And just on a natural level, I also don't want what Silman would call the big pawn being blocked by the pawn on d5. I don't want to be blocked. I want it open, right? Let's put this beautiful diagonal in there. Okay, so dude took, and now the calm rook e1. Love it, love it. Now his opponent was rated 2,300 ChessCom, by the way. It was I think it was his highest rated opponent he's ever played. Played a move that positionally is absolutely correct. He played b5. Now, one of the things about going over our games is there was a game he played just maybe a month. That was very, very recent. And it was like a Danish gambit. No one's refuted that thing yet, at his level anyway. And it was also a case where the opponent was like, please take my pawn so that I can develop my pieces, right? Please take my pawn. And one of the cool things was, I was watching this game live, that Jameel had a sense of like what he was gonna do. He saw b5 coming, and then had a sense of how to do it. And so we did a lot of tactics training in this time. I'll mention especially Chess Tactics from Scratch. We did that entire book, right? A lot of work. He's also obsessed with the 5-minute puzzle rush, maybe a little bit too much so, but he's obsessed with that. So that's something else he's been doing that maybe helped him see some of the patterns that now come up here. Right? So he played queen e4, exclam, and now we have a real problem. If we take, queen takes, it's not, you know, there's some real, black's, not only did we get the rook and maintain some material balance, but black's not getting out. Black's not getting out. And of course, on rook b8, bishop f4, it's pretty much all the way done. But maybe, I don't know if it's impressive, but what he saw, even before it happened, was that if queen c6, which was what was played, it's game over. Auf Wiedersehen, goodbye, you know? And when you play this way as white, of course you are hoping to win at least some games like this. But to win them, you have to have the positional ability to play moves like knight d5, even whether d6 is right or not, you need to sense like, oh, that could be a powerful move. And we can call it positional, but it's really like the art of attack, right? And I would say that's has been his strong suit from the beginning. He's good at attacking. Other things I want to mention. We had done it before, but he reviewed and is very good at the bishop and knight mate. And we did a lot of, in the dojo, it's called the rook endgame progression. So the most important rook endgame positions. He's gotten pretty good at those. Like everyone, though, he has to review them. And that's what he's been doing. So, Jameel, if you're listening to me, buddy, the next stretch is much harder, okay? And it will require, my good friend, you to play longer games. There's just not even a question about it. You got to be playing longer games. And we are going to have to get out of this comfort zone that you have of playing this online stuff. I think one of the cool things at the dojo that we've said is that once you pass 2,000, you need, it's not okay to have an online rating, because all of those cheaters and the top players, like myself, I'm not a top player, but I mean, anybody, you know, in the IM, GM, even FM range, they're not playing online because of the cheaters, but also like there's an over-the-board concentration that's not achieved when you're online. For Blitz, it's okay because you're all in for a couple minutes, but for a longer game, you know, it's very difficult to concentrate in front of the screen. One funny thought I had this morning is, in this modern world, playing an OTB tournament where they take your phones away is like the longest stretch of time that anyone is now without their phone, right? You know, at that tournament I played, we were 4 or 5 hours without the phone, and that's like, for our modern lives, unless you're asleep, that's the longest it's ever gonna go, right? Okay, so there it is. Jameel makes 2,100. 2,200, interestingly, I wish we could say it's not gonna be a chess.com rating, right? I would rather it be translated to be a over-the-board rating, right? And so we'll see how this journey continues. Key question is, can we get him to play over-the-board games? If it continues to be online in this madness, he needs to be playing dojo players. Part of the whole reason he has been playing dojo players is like, oh, this comfort, I just want to play when I want to play, you know? What are we talking about? You got to play these dojo players. They'll play you longer games too. It isn't always this 30-0. And he's losing a lot of games on time. Mucho games we've lost on time. Okay, so there it is. Bye-bye.